welcome everyone to another episode of RTP Behind the Scenes. This is Bill Heck. I'm going to talk today a little bit about the Fractal Axe-FX once again, but how I use scenes within my effects. So you can kind of see what's going on the floor. I've got my pedal board over here with another camera view. Hopefully you can actually see what's going on there. But I've got it up on the desk just for ease of recording, because doing it on the floor would be a little tougher. But what I'm going to do is talk about how I change scenes on the floor for various parts during the middle of a song. Previously, what I used to do is do patch changes, and I would have a patch for a rhythm and a patch for a lead and a patch for a clean tone or whatever it might be. And this still would work. The problem with changing patches is there's just a little bit of a lag between jumping between patches. And it shows up as just a momentary bit of silence. But if I can stay within one patch and then use scenes to jump between the various parts of the song, that lag is pretty much gone. And the other thing it gives me is the ability for like bleeding over things like reverbs and delays. So if I have one scene with a reverb and one scene without it, I can hit something, then switch scenes, and it doesn't just chop off that effect. So using one single patch, it really does simplify things. It speeds things up. It's much cleaner. So that's kind of what I'm going to show you here. To start, what I'd like to do is show you, there's also a feature that I use now called Setlist mode. So if I go into the editor, there's a feature in here called Sets and Songs. It allows up to 4 different set lists, and I'm going to grab Pabst here, which is one we did back in the fall of this year. And what I've got is all the songs over on this side, over on the right. These are all the songs that we have played. There are some that are in this list, like I've got 66 total songs. We've played more than that. As we do things, as I said, the set list mode is something fairly new. I haven't been using it very long, so I don't have every song in there yet. But as we do songs, what I'll do, there's obviously common ones like Limelight and Subdivision and Distant Early Warning, Big Money, Fly By Night. We do these on a pretty regular basis, so those are why they're kind of near the top. And then what I do is I'll drag these in order within each of those set lists. So for instance, for Pabst, I've got, we started with Anthem, went to Limelight, went to Subdivisions. So over on the pedal board, I can switch between those 4 different set lists. So here's Pabst. And then these two, the green switches on the lower right-hand side, gives me the ability to jump just from song to song. This is basically just a backwards and a forward. So then what I do is I jump from song to song, and the red ones down at the bottom here, those are the scenes that I was talking about. That gives me really the ability to switch to various things during that song, but it also really kind of simplifies things, so I can't go into something that I don't want or don't need to. Only what I need for that song is going to be available for each of those songs. So if I, as an example, I'm going to go to Red Barchetta, and you can see up at the top, hopefully, where I've got the name. I've got 3 scenes, and really all a scene is just, it's basically a macro. It's a way to change the various blocks. If you look on the screen, look at the Axe-FX editor, you'll see various things change. I've only got 3 scenes, only really need 3 things, but what I also do is I've got these blue ones up in the upper left, kind of use as stomp boxes. If there's ever a case where I want to add drive or add a delay, and these are really the ones I use most commonly, which is why they're the only ones that are there, at least for Red Barchetta. you can see that I can do them manually through the stomp boxes or through the scene. So I really have a couple ways of doing this. Typically what I do is I go from left to right. So dialed back is just, it's a Fender Twin. If you look at the editor, I'm using a double verb vibrato with a 2x12 cabinet here. And there are a lot of cabinets in the Fractals. So there really isn't a right or a wrong one to do. These are just ones that I've kind of gone to. Chorus, I use this Dimension 1. I talked about that in one of my previous videos. A dual delay, I use this also very often, where I have two somewhat offset delays. This one 583, this one 694. They're split left and right, and that kind of gives me those trailing delays. And then reverb, I use the Asylum Hall one. Like I said, no like real significance other than I just really like it. I like the sound of it. It's a pretty long delay. Long reverb. If I turn off the delay, you can hear it kind of hangs on for a while. But the first scene, I keep the delay on, and that's during the, if I could play it correctly. So I've got the delay on there. That really just adds a bit to it. I know on the studio version there is no delay on there, but it's just something. As I said, I've got the ability to turn that on and off as needed. If we're in a venue where the sound is really bouncing around, I may turn that off to make it a little less full, a little easier to hear. But by default, I'll usually keep the delay on for that whole opening section. For that whole section, you can hear the trailing delay, you can hear the reverb, and then I'll jump scenes into this. It's the same amp. The only difference is I've turned off the delay and I've turned on this drive. I have a Fractal LED drive that I use for a lot of things. Once again, there's not really a right or a wrong. It's just kind of preference. So definitely heavier sound, same patch though. All I'm doing is just turning things on and off within that one patch to really change. And then back to the and then during the kind of that bridge section, a lot of times I will manually turn on the delay for that to get back to the. Just to kind of fill it up. It's a nice full sound within that song. So it's just personal preference. I do like to do that. At some point, like when we kind of go into the, I'll usually turn that delay off. And then the lead sound. This one's actually really kind of a specialty lead. I'm actually using a tone match block. I was able to find an isolated version of the solo somewhere on YouTube. I'd give credit if I could, but I don't remember actually where I got it. But there was an isolated version that's a very distinct guitar solo, as Rush fans know. I think Alex had described it as it was supposed to sound like they were like in a tunnel, like driving through a tunnel. So what I did is I used this tone match block to basically record the original one, analyze the signal, and then it basically alters what you're hearing. I'm actually using a USA lead. I believe that's a Mesa Boogie actually for my lead tones with the tone match. It's got that real, if I kind of go back to this. And go into the lead tone. So that's, you can see kind of the power behind how scenes work. It really gives me the ability to just really completely change the sound with just a single click. When you're up there, when you're playing this stuff, I know a lot of people, I'm a huge fan of guitarists like Eric Johnson, who uses analog pedals, and I'm definitely not going to say, oh, he's doing it wrong, because he's definitely not. But it's a tap dance. If you really watch him on stage, to go from one sound to another, it's almost never a single click. It's going to be change 2 or 3 or 4 things at the part of the song. Personal preference, using scenes here really simplifies that, so I can just keep it between these 3 scenes and it gets me through the whole song. One other song I'm gonna show, and this one's a little different, is 2112. If you look at the pedal board, I've got 7 scenes set up here. I have no stomp boxes, so those blue ones that I had in the upper left corner are not there, but I have a momentary delay. That's for the... I'm sure I can do this one hand. So just like it sounds, it's just a momentary delay. It'll turn on when I hold it. As soon as I let go of it, it's gone, and I use it for that opening part. But otherwise, the scenes are kind of used in a similar way. They're obviously 2112. It's a 21-minute song. There's a lot of parts to it. So I've got more scenes going on here, and pretty much do all my changes with those scenes. Lead is the lead. Wah lead is for a couple of those guitar solos have a wah pedal on them. I don't have the wah pedal hooked up right now, so I'm not going to demo that, but you kind of get the idea. Clean is what I'll use for I'll actually change pickups. I'll go down to a neck pickup. But for the parts like the... So I've got quite a bit of delay on there. I probably should actually reduce that a little bit, but it's part of that scene. Clean phase, very similar, adds that phaser block, which I use for the... Definitely has that 70s vibe to it. That is a... it's called Naughty Rock. I forget which phaser that's emulated on, but I really liked the sound of it. Kind of worked for that part, so I will use that. I'll also use that for that same phaser for parts like, say, Fly By Night. So real similar. As I said, I tend to copy full patches around, and I'll reuse them for songs, which is why you'll sometimes see things on here like this block and this block, which actually aren't even used in 2112, but they're there in case I ever need to go to them. This one's really interesting. If I go to Oracle, actually turns the delay block off, but what it does, kind of going back and forth, it takes that Asylum Hall reverb, which is at 4.84 seconds and around almost 25% mix, and switches it over to same reverb, same time, but 81% mix. So, very, it kind of fits that part. Once again, if I play it right. You can hear I've got the phaser on there. Then I would jump over to... So that's about it for scenes. Just kind of wanted to show you like what's going on the floor. I get that asked a lot of times. Like, what are you stepping on? What are you doing? So as far as the guitar effects, that's it. I simplify it as much as I possibly can with building in scenes. That way I can just kind of go from left to right through the song. And it really does simplify things. I figure we've got enough things worrying about trying to play this stuff correctly, so I don't want to overcomplicate things on the floor. So that's what I use. And so that's pretty much it. There's a little bit about scenes. I want to try to keep it as simple as possible on the floor so we can just concentrate on playing the songs. So appreciate everybody joining, and hopefully we'll see you out there soon. Thanks a lot.